Today we are talking the hugely influential website in the bullseye of the culture war. It's got to be OnlyFans. What is it? Where did it come from? And what positive and negative effects is it having on its users, its creators, and modern society more generally? Because it's had a monumental cultural impact around sex work and a more normalized attitude. Certainly, I think it's fair to say around creators monetizing adult content. But is that the case for the consumers as well? And we will get into that. We're going to dive deep into some stats and some of the top earners and their eye-watering paychecks. How are you feeling about this OnlyFans episode, John Maloney, one of the co-hosts of Don't Praise the Machine?
Well, I feel vulnerable because I've got a little bit of a dog in the fight. Obviously, I've got my own OnlyFans account. And
John Maloney After Dark.
John Maloney After Dark. And I subscribe to 300 or 400 other accounts. And I've already copped a fair bit of flack for that on the personal front. And now I fear I'm going to get it from DPTMers as well. No, I'm interested. None of that is true. I'm interested in I'm very interested in this issue, partly because, I mean, it's got it all, doesn't it? It's interesting ethically, it's interesting culturally, it's interesting even economically when you think about the money that this product or this, platform and the people who are using it to generate content, how much money they've made, and often, like from a cumulative standpoint or from an aggregated standpoint, the amount of money that is generated that wouldn't have otherwise been generated, I don't think, by a lot of these people. Some of them would have made money in other ways, obviously, some in sex work, some not. But even if they had made money kind of doing this through intermediaries or engaging in more traditional forms of, of sex work, I don't think the amount of money that they would have made would be nearly as much. And so I'm kind of interested in what effect that's having. I'm interested in like who's using it and why, as in both content creators and fans. And yeah, I'm interested in this kind of cultural normalization and what effect that might have. Obviously, now I've got a daughter, and so I'm going to start a lot of sentences with "as a father of a daughter," and really inject that angle into it. Bit of wowzerism. That's what I like these days, and something that's very DPTM, which we might come to. I mean, this is in itself a very DPTM subject because it's kind of wacky. It's technology, it's culture, but there's a layer on top of that, which is that some of these content creators have started using AI to enhance their offering, which is something I'm interested in.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't see that in my that's you. I've put you on the AI. You've always been on the AI porn beat for the show. That's always been your journalistic beat. Yeah. You're always sending me messages going, "Oh, you're not going to believe what they're up to in AI porn this week, Al. Yeah, I just got 100 tabs open for research."
I say, look, can you put me on a different beat? This is taking a personal toll on my well-being. There's a lot of dark shit in this beat.
I thought I could do the Marie and Stephen intro, which is always where you explain the thing, because we can't assume that people who have healthy relationships and grew up in a different time, where you just had to meet a person that you went to work, that you worked with, or was that your local church group, or was the sibling of somebody that you were dating
school with.
Yeah.
And exactly. If you wanted to think about other people, you just did that in your imagination, and maybe someone you know would have a folder of pornographic clippings that they'd lend you or something. That's as far as it went.
Maybe you had a friend at school who was a gifted artist, and they would do special drawings.
Exactly. Speculative nudes of the people at the school.
Or cartoon characters that you had a
Mhm.
crush on. So it's OnlyFans is a subscription-based online platform where creators share content directly with fans, and it could be anything. So it has been used by fitness coaches, musicians, and even chefs. And I believe it was actually started with a non-pornographic intent.
That's interesting.
The creator thought, I'll just make a website, a platform where creators can directly monetize from their audience from a
like a
subscription-based
Patreon
service. And then it got real sexy, real quick. And then that's what it's best known for now, adult content. I can give you some key stats to really whet your appetite for OnlyFans. If you've never been on, I'm about to whet your appetite, get you real interested in OnlyFans. It's currently valued at a real meager $18 billion.
Fuck.
And that's 8 times more than it was in 2020. So that gives you a sense of its growth. And as of the latest publicly available data from early 2024, it's paid its creators over 10 billion USD in payouts since
Bloody hell.
the platform launched. We got currently 190 million active users, and 2.1 million of those are creators.
190 million.
190 million active users, and 2.1 million of those are the creators. And it has raised zero in investment.
Everyone is like me saying, that's more than 8 times the population of Australia, or it's almost 8 times the population of Australia.
That's true. If you think of a deeply perverted, enormous Australia, that's like 8 times. If you just increase the size of Australia and make it more perverse and whacked out,
exactly.
Imagine. I want to visit that. I want to visit OnlyFans Island, that country, the continent of OF.
Imagine, if you will, a blue and green marble that is just the only land masses are Australia's, and there's 8 of them, and every man, woman, and child on them is a perv. That's what we're talking about.
That's the world. That's the planet for me, I would say. It's taken $0 in investment, so it's completely self-funded. And yeah, it's just growing and growing and growing. The way that it makes money, OnlyFans, is actually some of the key features. So some of the reasons why you might think, I love OnlyFans. I found my favorite creator who does fitness content. And I want to, or my favorite chef. I love hearing about their recipes. Or it could be a young lady that shows her breasts, and you can DM, you can be a subscriber. Could be all 3. That's a great niche. You can DM the person. So this is like you have your subscription fee, and you can send them a direct message. And I guess they can choose whether or not to DM you back, or we can maybe get to this, but they have now teams of people that will DM on behalf of the creator, appearing to be them. Traditionally, this was people in the global south and on computers, but now I think AI is probably taking over more and more and more of that. You can also tip. So you see your favorite lady who shows her breasts, and you say, I'm going to tip you, even though I'm a subscriber, I'm going to tip you a couple of extra bucks for that, because I think you're looking real great today, sweetheart.
Because I've got a little bit of a FinDom thing going. So can you please take my extra money that I need for my rent? And so hang on. If I was to go on there, I mean, as I understand it, there's a variety of different offerings and tiers and whatever, depending on who you are and what you're about. Let's assume that the people who are not offering adult content have gradually left for platforms that are not synonymous with adult content. But supposing I'm going on there to view a typical content creator who's offering, like, she's got an Instagram page. I'm saying she because that's just my perspective, and she's got an Instagram page.
Statistically, you are correct.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure that's true. and she's got all
statistically,
my
you as a
links.
man and you as a man as a user and her as a female as a creator. That's statistically a good guess, John. I have the stats in front of me for later.
It was, let's just say it was an educated guess. And so then she's got an all my links. I click through to that. It's got an OnlyFans. I click onto that. Sometimes it'll be like, here is you can be a tier 1, 2, or 3 subscriber. Sometimes it'll be like, I'm aware of one where, or like one way of doing it where people will changed my phrasing from I've seen to I'm aware of there. That was kind of, we might have to edit that in post, where someone will offer something for free and then they'll say, like, they'll give you they'll kind of drip feed occasional things. Then they might have like a pixelated photo and you've got to pay per view of the content, or you might just like, as you say, you might get other services like direct messaging or requesting specific content types from them, or, watching videos as opposed to photos or whatever. Is that basically what's going on?
So I think, I don't know about the tiers. I haven't even checked if there are tiers like there are on Patreon. There may well be. I can double check that, but it's essentially a subscription based. Most of the money is made from subscriptions. Between 10 and $25 a month. Is the average.
Okay.
And so you are getting $25 taken out of your account every month for a specific person. So it's not like it's not platform. You don't get everything on the platform for $25 a month.
Right. Okay.
You have to subscribe to individuals. And so you would find somebody on Instagram, and this is probably a good time to touch on this as well.
Yeah.
The more vanilla social media platforms that have a much larger reach, like TikTok, like Instagram, this is where a lot of the creators find their audience. This is what we would call in marketing the top of the funnel. You need to get those eyes, get that attention. And you'll see it's often quite easy to guess exactly why the person is on TikTok or Instagram, because the content is quite sexy. And then you go, I bet this person has an OnlyFans link in their bio. And then sure enough, you click on their bio and it says over here for the spicy content. And then you click there and then you're taken.
It's almost become a cliche for somebody to have as their Instagram bio, yes, I have one. Meaning, yes, I do have an OnlyFans, in case you're wondering, which is, what a lot of their people who get presented with their content would be wondering, probably within seconds.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's the joke, isn't it? Is that creepo men will write in the comments of an attractive lady. They just bombard the comments with OF ? Do you have an OF? When you gonna start OF?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I'm just having a look actually at Social Rise, which is they've written an article about how much to charge on OnlyFans, which is interesting.
Hot tips.
Similar stats to yours, but then you've got like, you've got subscriptions, you've got different levels being offered, you've got pay-per-view content, you've got the ability to offer custom content to people, presumably like if somebody gives you $10,000 to do something that they want. You've got streams, so you can like have a live stream going and people can tip you while it's watching. You've got video calls, like you might sort of agree to do that for a high-paying fan to kind of sex them or video call them. All sorts of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All sorts of stuff. And so you were just speaking before, John, I got this from, it's difficult to get stats because OnlyFans I don't think is particularly generous with their or transparent with their data, but I've seen things saying that the approximate share of creators is 75 to 85% female.
Okay.
And male 15 to 25, which that seems high to me. But then I think the users skews even more highly male. I've seen even other I've seen other studies. I'm not sure what the sample size is like. Some studies suggested that a vast majority of the men who subscribe to the service are married men. So
Right.
that is a weird sociological thing that is
Yeah.
happening. That men who are meant to be satisfied in their loving sexual relationships going on OnlyFans and finding all manner of mostly women to subscribe to. But I guess there is also
Darling, I
a
was only a fan, they'll say.
darling, I was only a fan. That's right. I think that's what they suggest you say on OnlyFans when you get caught, so that you can keep subscribing.
Maybe one of the things we
But
can talk about is, if we have time later, is whether OnlyFans, like what the ethics of it is, as opposed to, your more conventional forms of male titillation, which aren't necessarily identified with infidelity. But I think some people have been debating whether or not, being a kind of avid or even a casual OnlyFans user might be crossing some sort of line because of the parasocial nature of the relationship. But Al, I derailed you there. Please continue.
Well, we can touch on that. I mean, would you? It's the thing that fascinates me the most about OnlyFans is how it has sort of shifted the Overton window around like sex work or adult people being adult content creators. I just feel like 10 years ago, this was a sort of corner of the internet that was reserved for people who were like sex workers or porn stars.
Yeah.
And now it's made it that like you just know, oh yeah, these girls who I go to university with are on OF or it's other girls are seeing young girls on OnlyFans and aspiring to have that lifestyle because the amount of money that you can make is like just eye-watering. But having said that, that's very much for the top 1% of the creators. The vast majority of people do not make a ton of money on OnlyFans. It's like this is
going to ask you
I
about
think
that.
so the vast majority of people, I think they were saying that the average is like $180 or 180 to 1,000, I think is like the most users make. But then if you're getting up into the 1%, then you're getting those huge amounts of money. The one of the huge news stories from a couple of years ago was from a young lady who goes by the name Sophie Rain, who was a bit of a newcomer to the OnlyFans scene. And I think it's officially her first year. But I think she went on a podcast. She did an interview and she showed her OnlyFans dashboard. But I see here it says that she reportedly earned between 43 and 40, basically we could say $43 million in her first year that's gross to her. By the way,
I just looked her up. She's 20 years old. So she's
20
she's
years
done
old from
that
Florida.
at 18 or 19, and then now she's got tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, so that's what a lot of people are seeing, and they're just going, where a lot of aspiring creators are seeing, going, okay, well, I can do a few videos showing my boobs. I can stand in front of the camera and go, hey guys, do you want to see my boobs today? And then you show them, and then bada bing, bada boom, $43 million.
Then people go, yes.
And then the kind of men that you would definitely want to have in your life go, yes, I'll give you money. And I guess this is the other interesting thing, John, that fascinates me about it is on one hand, it's becoming more normalized for young women to post adult content online for money. It's obviously not a totally normalized thing that everybody thinks is great. Because there are, of course, questions about things being exploitative and whether or not it is really the best way that we should be moving forward. But then the other hand, you have this huge group of men who are paying the money to make this whole thing work. And as I say, on one hand, it's being more like yeah, you go, girl. You're a boss bitch. Get that
Yeah.
bag.
Yeah.
The other positive that people have said about it is compared to traditional sex work, it's much safer and you have more control of what's going on because you don't have to like be on the street. You don't have to have a pimp. You don't have to, physically be interacting with with clients.
Yeah.
You can literally be anywhere in the world. You can all you need is your phone and an internet connection. You can be anywhere. So there's that level of safety and then also that level of
autonomy
and financial control because that, you do your thing. OnlyFans takes 20%, I think, and you take 80
right. Yeah.
of whatever's coming in.
Yeah.
So there's that side of it. And there is that whole kind of like, you go, girl, you're a boss bitch. But then there is this other super weird thing that I always find with sex work and adult work generally, where there is that side of things, where it can be seen as being empowering for women in that way. But then nobody respects men that pay for these services or wants anything to do with them. They're these kind of like social pariahs. I mean, if they're known to be if you were like, this is my friend Janine, she's like a boss bitch. She's on OnlyFans. Cool. This is Greg. He's one of her subscribers on OnlyFans. Like, don't invite Greg to the party.
Exactly. Greg's gross. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I have sometimes watched clips from Glennie Balls of Barstool Sports, who is a kind of long time, character at Barstool Sports, which is, like a very kind of like a light-hearted sort of, sports oriented, slightly bro-y kind of American comedy vehicle. And he's been making content for them online for a number of years. And he recently started, relatively recently, not so long ago, started this show called OnlyStans, where he basically interviews OnlyFans creators on the show. And, they have kind of
creators or users?
Creators.
Okay.
And so there's, mostly women, I think exclusively women, who come on the show and talk to him about, like how they came up, why they started doing this, what their kind of funny stories, what they're like weird, like weird fans and people's weird fetishes, and people who offered to pay them $100,000 to fly them out to, go to dinner with them, and people who wanted to, like offered them $500,000 to have a pair of underwear that they'd just worn or whatever, all that kind of stuff. And it's all, it's a comedy show. So it's all kind of very light and sort of jolly, and Glennie Balls is quite open about the fact that he is is an OnlyFans user, and the other kind of Barstool Sports men that come in and out of the show occasionally are the same. Like they know who these people are, and they're all quite open about it. And it's funny because that obviously has things like that have the effect of reinforcing this kind of normalizing trend that that I think is kind of genuinely complex, because on the one hand, I think it's a good thing to like see these people as ordinary human beings and not as just like abstract figures. On the other hand, it's probably masking, some of the potential downsides of OnlyFans, both for users and for creators. I mean, from the point of view of creators, obviously you're putting out content as you would be if you went into porn, which, is not going to go away as soon as you go away. You might decide to turn it off, but it's everywhere. And particularly if you're making that decision when you're like 18 or whatever, that's not ideal. But also I think more broadly, and this is something that like gets thrown around in sex work more generally, it's like, well, yes, there will be people who go into this because they find it fun and empowering and have no problem with it, and it never comes back to bite them, and they live happily ever after. But there will be people who are doing it because of impending poverty and like they're in dire straits and they need to do it to pay for themselves or their families, and maybe they need to keep doing it to pay for themselves or their families, or they've got a, God knows what, they got a drug problem and they need to do it to finance the drug problem. All those things that like people don't, like a show like that obviously sweeps that side of it under the carpet because it's not in any way part of the narrative to be like, isn't there a dark side to this? Or isn't this, do you ever think maybe this isn't the best use of your time and talents as a person? Or like, did you feel like if you had the option to do anything, is this what you would have done? Or like, did you feel compelled to do it because of a lack of opportunity? Whatever. Like there's those complexities that don't get analyzed through that sort of platform. And it's obviously very much in the interests of users not to analyze them because they just want a guilt-free, titillating experience. They don't want to have to think through the complexities. And if you can have somebody like Glennie Ball saying, look how happy and fun these women are, like this is all fine, then, it's more power to them. Then obviously it plays into that kind of self-serving goal of users not to look past that side of it, which I think is really interesting. And yeah, I mean, there's always that dilemma where you kind of think, okay, on the one hand, this is not like this is, someone else is making an autonomous decision to do something with their lives. Fine. But if I had a sister who decided to do this, would I be like also fine? Or would I be like, I don't think that's a good idea? And if it's the latter, what would my reasoning be? I mean, am I just being prudish, or is there something that's kind of dehumanizing about it, that it's okay for strangers to do, but not okay for people to care who I care about? So let's answer all of those questions, I
think. Right. I'll start from the beginning there, John, and just go right through them. What if I said to you, what would you say to me if I said, John, I'm thinking of subscribing to 10 OnlyFans creators?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I had thought of it from the angle of, if a woman in my life particularly, I mean, it could be a man, but more likely statistically to be a woman, says, I'm going to start an OnlyFans account, what would I think? But also what would I think, if you said to me, I'm huge into OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be thrilled. I think I'd be a bit disappointed. And it's interesting though, isn't it? Because obviously before the internet, people did have to pay. People did have to pay for. They had to, in the words of Punk Truck Love, if you want to be a pervert, you got to pay. So they had to go and buy DVDs or magazines, and now we don't. We just you could just go anywhere on the internet and like watch some porn for free, and so that has kind of weirdly stigmatized for me the idea of spending your hard-earned cash on porn, because it tells me that you've got more than a casual interest in porn, because you're not happy with what's available for free. You want to pay for it, and you want to have like a slightly parasocial relationship with a particular person.
This is the difference between traditional pornography and OnlyFans is the parasocial relationship. And I think there's something about that I think makes you feel that I may be a slightly more sad and desperate figure than was this like 20 years ago, and I just had like this is so funny even thinking back to this, like before the tube based porn sites where you could just go, oh, I'm going to go to like Pornhub or PornTube or whatever. Before they existed, the only way that you could like access pornographic videos on the internet was you had to subscribe. Or you could obviously like torrent things if you knew what you were doing, but you would get these you would get subscriptions to porn websites, and then you'd get access to like really high quality videos that you could download. And feels something quite different, because if you were like, oh, if I said to you, oh, John, I just got a subscription to this really amazing porn website in like 2005, you'd be like, oh, cool, that's fun. Let's check it out. It's me and the boys. And I'd seem like a fairly I could still seem like kind of normal guy. Maybe, Al's just that guy in the group who loves a bit of porn, whatever. But now if I go to you, oh, John, I've paid $25 a month so I get to speak to Sophie. She's my best girlfriend in the whole world. And now suddenly that's very different.
It is.
I'm not, because, why? Why is it different?
It's created a space between sex work, as in going to an escort, and sex work as in, other people making porn that is generally consumed, because, you're not just watching something that is for general consumption. I mean, you might be, I suppose, but you might also be trying to, you'd often be using those services to engage in some sort of specific interaction with that person. And particularly if you're willing to spend more money, obviously the further up the chain you go, the offering is more and more personalized. So it's about, I want to connect with my fans. I want you to, write to me. I want you to request specific content, whatever. And that, that does trouble me. Like, the closest I can think of in pre-internet is if you said, John, can we go to like a porn expo and get a bunch of signatures from porn stars? I'd go, it's very much, I don't know, like man. That. I think you're getting too into this. Like, maybe just put away the magazines for a couple of weeks and see how you go. I'd say.
I want to go and I want to go and say hi to the porn stars at the expo and have my photograph
at sex
taken.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's this same sort of sense that these people, these creators, must privately loathe their fans or look down on them.
Yeah,
and not. I mean, some of them, I'm sure don't feel that way, but a lot of them probably would, or at least would react to them with a kind of indifference at best. And then the fans, that's not symmetrical, because the fans have a kind of unrequited interest in this person, and that person doesn't share that interest at all. Like, you'd say, I really like you. Can you fly out and we can have sex, or can you make this video for me?
Yeah.
And then it's not like the fan has any illusions that maybe this girl would also like to pay for his content. Like, that's not how it works. It's
she subscribes to his Twitch game Minecraft channel.
Exactly.
She's obsessed with it, and she's donating him. She's Findom for Minecraft. He's like doing Minecraft play alongs.
Maybe we've stumbled on a healthier alternative, which is more of a barter-based content sharing, where he says, look, you can watch me play Minecraft on my Twitch channel. Don't have to subscribe. Just send me some nudes.
And for some reason, she'd go, look, I don't know why, but I'm absolutely not interested in that at all. And he'd go, but I don't understand. I'm so interested in you. Why aren't you interested in me? And she'd go,
it's true.
Yeah.
I wonder when I remember when Freakonomics, the book, The Sensation, came out, and one of the interesting things they talked about was sex work and, the economics of it, and how much the pimps would get as opposed to the women, typically women, or strippers, how much they would get or whatever. And I wonder if anyone's done a kind of economic analysis of this, because a $10 billion shift of capital from one group of people to another group of people, or let's say, 18 billion, I think you said, is what OnlyFans has made. But, say 80% of that's going to content creators. I mean, that is enormous. And there must be, if there's any truth in trickle-down economics, there must be backwater towns in the US that is suddenly awash with cash because they've got one or two, massive content creators that are just like, I'm going to hire people to put a new story on my house. I'm going to, like go to the best restaurant in town and spend up big. Suddenly they've turned it into a boom town.
If they stay, but I expect they all move to somewhere with palm trees. We can also talk about, John, this has led me on to speaking about leaving your town. The BOP House is a thing that has been getting a lot of attention on media. So a lot of people will remember some years ago that content houses really took off, where you started having the Instagram Vine. I think Vine was the first place that popularized it, where you would have a bunch of stars on Vine, like Jake Paul, and they realized that a way to share audiences and also collab to grow their followers, instead of just being home by yourself and going, I'm just going to post Vines by myself, what you could do is you could rent a big apartment or a McMansion in Miami, and then you'd reach out to other creators who are doing well on Vine, or in a lot of cases, like a manager would set these content houses up, and he would say, hey, I've got a content house. I'll sign you to come, and you get a room, and you get a room, and then bring 10 content creators together.
Yeah.
And then they just have endless content ideas because they can just film each other being goofy around the content house. Yes. Oh, look, it's Jake Paul interacting with Tay Zonday. They're jumping on the bed together. I mean, I'm going to watch that for sure. Oh, look, it's the Double Rainbow guy singing a duet with Rebecca Black. Of course, I'm going to watch that content house.
Yeah.
Well, of course. So that became a huge thing for a while.
Island
particularly
Boys biting
around
Charlie's finger. Something.
Exactly. That's a house for me. And now content houses have become OnlyFans content houses. The most famous and popular one that I've seen, and the only one that I've seen, to be honest, is called the BOP House, which Sophie Rain is, I think, either the founder or she's the main person. So that the wealthiest earner, the $43 million girl, Sophie Rain. She's in that BOP House. I read the acronym. I think it stands for Baddies on Point. BOP, it's an acronym, which I think means girls out there getting their bags. That's what it is.
Yeah, sure.
And it's a classic content house, but instead of just Jake Paul being a goofball, it's very young adult women who are big on OnlyFans, and they use the BOP Content House as their top of funnel Instagram, TikTok account, because they post, stuff that is appropriate. It's appropriate. It's fine to be on Instagram because it's just, girls in skimpy outfits just interacting with each other. It just kind of, in fact, I think I saw some of these BOP House videos and didn't really realize what was going on at first. I was like, oh yeah, it's just a sort of silly house with attractive young models in it, whatever. Yeah. And then the more that I read about OnlyFans, I realized, oh, these are all young OnlyFans women who are doing well on the platform, and they get together in the BOP House. And then the TikTok account has like millions of followers, and they post consistent content, and it's their genius top of funnel strategy, because you just got people who don't know what it is suddenly coming across them on TikTok, and they go, oh yeah, this looks like real fun, so I'm gonna see what these girls are up to. And then there's an OnlyFans link. Oh, I can pay to see any one of these girls naked if I want. Well, that's what I was kind of thinking about when I saw them.
It's like a virtual bunny ranch, basically. Like one of those big kind of Nevada style brothels that used to exist, where people would drive out, and these women would kind of live out there and have fun and parties and stuff. But then there would also be opportunities to have sex with them, obviously. It's an interesting development on that. Probably a bit better than those places because, it's not constantly being visited by grotty men, but it is essentially a kind of, a house devoted to the production of, or the carrying out of sex work, isn't it really?
Well, it's like top of funnel OnlyFans content generator is the BOP House, and they look like they look like a fun bunch of gals having a fun time together. Had to
What are
find that
they?
out from my research.
What's their situation? Are they like, do they bunk? Do they have separate rooms? What do you reckon? Is it palatial?
I think,
Is it like is it kind of like your Aaron Paul, Jake Paul content creator house where there's like a nice big pool and it looks kind of like a soulless California mansion?
Jake Paul, Logan Paul, it looks like a McMansion. It looks like a classic content house in that it looks like a big rented mansion. I'm sure for the purposes of the funnel, they claim to bunk together or share beds or whatever. I'm sure that's what works.
Together. Yeah, I wonder if they like basically. I wonder how much of that is a kind of performance as well. If they just like, if they're sort of coldly indifferent to each other.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even fucking live there.
Yeah. It's just
they just drive there once a week and then batch record TikToks, and then they go back to their much nicer, more pleasant apartments where they have all to themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, why the fuck would you live in a share house if you have $43 million a year coming in?
It's true. That's a good point. Yeah, exactly. You go there for special occasions.
These are just my roomies. Oh yeah, no, I'm just making like $40 million a year, but I can't stand. They always leave the dishes in the sink unclean.
Totally.
I mean, leaving the toilet seat up.
That's one end of the spectrum, and another one that I'm interested in, which you know a little bit about, is the kind of people who don't have to make OnlyFans because they've got other income streams, but they do it maybe because those income streams aren't what they used to be, or just because they can and they want more money. And I mean, an obscure example of this, which I would start with, is one that the algorithm randomly presented me a couple of days ago with this image on Instagram of a woman who I remembered from like morning TV in the 90s. She used to be one of these people who, like on your classic morning show where they break for, a sort of a sales segment. Like they're like, we're going to cross now to Roz Switzer, her name was. Roz, tell us about this great new alarm system that Demtel is offering for our viewers. And then she'd carry on about that for 5-10 minutes. She used to do that. I hadn't thought about her or seen her in years and years. And then I saw her in a very skimpy outfit, and turned out that she, which I clicked on only because we were going to do this show. And it turned out that she had basically in her retirement, I mean, she's probably in her early 50s, but quite young looking, and has a following probably of people who are even older than me who remember her from the 90s, who, get on her OnlyFans and download racy content. And that's a kind of obscure example, but a more famous example would, of course, be someone like Lily Allen, who, famously put out a bunch of feet pics after being told by her podiatrist that she had nice feet. At least that's the story that she tells. And I mean, she's not someone who's doing it because that's all she can do, obviously, or that's kind of her main. I mean, it might now be, I don't know, but it wasn't at one time her main source of income. There you go. It's not why she's in the public eye, but she has pivoted, having been in the public eye for a different reason, to OnlyFans as a way of making, what probably it's wrong to say extra money, because it might now be most of her money or more money than she'd ever made any other way.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people who had notoriety before OnlyFans. They're not known for adult work. A lot of them are, like either celebrities who were very big at the height of their career, like Lily Allen was fucking enormous, like that. She's huge, and now she is selling feet pic. I'm not even feet pics. I'm not even sure what her claim. I'm not even sure if she claims that she needs the money or if she just said, "Oh, it's just a bit of." If she's doing the whole,
Just a
it's
good
just a bit of
laugh.
fun. It's just a good laugh. That's why I'm doing it. And David Arbor loved it so much that he then divorced her a few months later. And that's how happy he was with the whole feet thing. She did his interview saying how he was like he thought it was a funny, silly goof, and maybe he did, but then they separated very soon after that news article.
Stranger
came out
things have
about
happened. That article was called.
Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened than my wife's feet pics.
And Kate Nash, who I
Yes.
don't really know anything about, but
Yeah.
you know a bit about who she is and was, and
Yeah,
now
so she was on the Adam Buxton podcast recently, and he asked her about it, and he said something similar to just that kind of concern that we were talking about earlier, where if somebody said to him, or maybe if his daughter said to him, "I'm going to do OnlyFans," he'd go, isn't there anything else you can do? Is that the best place to be? Is that the best type of men that you want to be having to engage with in direct messages and whatever? So Kate Nash was a huge indie star in the UK. I think her massive breakout album was 2007. I had heard that name around a bunch, and then I played the song, and I was like, oh yeah, it's that song. Kate Nash's big hit went, the the rocks in our foundation, and I know that I should let go, but I can't. And that's her. That's Kate Nash.
Okay.
And she was in the media last year or the year before, because she had started selling what she was calling bum pics, or pics of her bum, on OnlyFans. And she was saying that she had to do it because the state of the music industry is just fucked. And the kind of income that she used to make just isn't what it used to be. She wants to continue being a musician, but the only way that she can subsidize that life is by selling bum pics. She said on Adam Buxton, and everybody has said this that I've read articles from, Lily Allen included, that the money is crazy. Like they've just never seen, particularly for this amount of effort, that you post a couple of photographs of quick bum pic of your bottom, and like I don't know, like I mean, I'm looking. So just to move on to another story, just to give you a quick idea of the kind of sums we're talking. So this week, British canoeist whose name is Kurtz Adams Rozentals. This was on the BBC from last week, who competes in the canoe slalom and wants to go to the Olympics. He was suspended in April by the governing body Paddle UK, which I love. It's called Paddle UK, following allegations about his post on social media. So he was saying that he really wants to go to the Olympics and he needs a bit of extra cash. So he started posting spicy content
Can't be the only athlete to do that.
OnlyFans. What's that?
He can't have been the only athlete to do that. I mean,
no, there's loads. I found other stories from particularly athletes that it sounds like particularly athletes that want to go to the Olympics because they just they might be in a weird sport like fencing or some shit where there just isn't any interest, and so they have to find the money to keep training and then go to the. So there are a bunch of stories about it, and he said during the interview, so he did an interview saying, "Hey, Paddle UK suspended me because I was funneling people on my Instagram to my spicy content, and it must be gay lads, so he must be posting sexy pics, and it must be gay lads going and giving him a bunch of money."
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess. And
do you think he incorporates the paddle?
Oh, mate, that would be great, wouldn't it? Like if it's just somebody he's getting paddled with the slalom canoe paddle.
I think that's where Paddle UK drew the line, because it had the Paddle UK insignia on it.
Fuck, it's so good. Just Paddle UK merch all over the room where he's getting paddled. But he told the BBC that he had earned more than £100,000 since creating his OF account this January.
Wow.
So within 6 months.
Mm.
I think he posted. I think it said he'd posted 33 videos on
Mhm.
OnlyFans, and he'd made £100,000 sterling.
Wow.
So
That's pretty good. That's certainly more
This
than you
is
can
the-
make slaloming in a canoe, as far as I'm aware.
that is, you can't. Men, I don't know what it is that's in us, but we find it very hard to jerk off to slalom canoe races. We've tried. Goodness,
Yeah.
we've tried.
Goodness, we've tried. Yeah, okay. And Paddle UK said, "Get out. This isn't what people." They said, "Slalom is a family sport, and you can't." And he was like, "Is it? Why?"
He said,
But they've kicked him, or
he
they've
said-
I don't know, they've expelled him from the team or something. I guess is the
he said, Paddle UK said, "Look, Kurtz, we don't know if single people watch slalom canoe. Frankly, we don't want to know." But slalom, slalom Olympic canoe is a family sport. But yeah, it's interesting too because both Kate Nash and Lily Allen, they're also doing this kind of dance, which I'm sure they're doing in their own mind as well as having to do to the public, where they're kind of like, yes, I'm selling, my body, pictures of my body so that men can masturbate to them.
Yeah.
But I also need to be okay with that. And
Yeah.
so I need to, the narrative that I'm telling myself or that I'm going to tell you is this. And I guess the other interesting thing is, like, with Kate Nash in particular, she's just gone, oh, I'm just going to do bum pics. And it's a bit, her thing is like, the bum's a bit, this is what she said on Adam Bucks. And she's like, the bum is a bit silly.
Right.
And that's why, so her kind of thing is like, yeah, I'm just going to do bum pics because they're silly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know, because at the same time, it's like,
so she just rejected what he said. She didn't, or was she sympathetic and said, "Yeah, it's not great"? Or
I think she was sort of sympathetic. She just, I can't remember exactly how she responded to him, but her general angle was like, I have to do this because there's no money in the music industry because it's fucked. But she also says that it's a protest and that she shouldn't have to do it.
Right.
Is another thing that she says.
That's how I feel about being a lawyer. Is that I'm doing it partly as a protest because there shouldn't be injustice in the world, but there is, and so I'm forced to do it, to practice law, to combat it.
So yeah, I guess every person on OnlyFans, and some people just post like stuff that's kind of like sexy, but would still be appropriate on virtually. You could still go on Instagram. They're just like, they don't post it on Instagram. They're like, I'm going to post me in a bikini, and if you want to see it, you have to pay for me on. So you've got everybody doing that. From doing that to like, I'm assuming the most extreme sex. I don't know what their policy is, but anything that you can imagine, I'm assuming, is pretty much on.
I think so.
OnlyFans, except maybe some of the more extreme stuff. I think pretty general sex, any kind of porn stuff that you might have seen. I think those people can monetize now.
Yeah, there's one.
Themselves.
There's one that I saw because I watched a few extracts in prep for of this Only Stands show, and he interviews this couple who, I don't know, they've got a weird vibe because they talk about, they've sort of talk about like fitness and leadership and all the usual sort of crap that people like to talk about on Instagram, but then they also just have sex with each other. And if you want to watch them do that, you can subscribe to their OnlyFans as a man and a woman, and so they just you can just subscribe to them as a couple, and they have the kind of money where they just, like, as a joke during the interview, I think Glennie Balls brought up that he liked these kind of beach buggy type things. What were they called? Like ATVs, and and the guy just got on his phone and bought him one just then and there because he's got crazy OnlyFans money. But yeah, I mean, I think we're at 55 minutes. We're going to have to come out pro or anti OnlyFans.
Maybe before we finish, I can just give you some of the top earners, John, so everybody can
Sure.
understand. And some of these names will be familiar to you. Cardi B makes a lot of money
Oh,
from
does she?
her
I didn't know that.
OnlyFans. So rapper, but also spicy content. I don't know. I think Cardi B's stuff is like, my sense is that
tame.
she's not posting like, yeah. Mia Khalifa, who used to be, she was a brief porn star, and now I think she does just kind of like, I'm walking around and my boobs are a little bit out, you know, watch me make breakfast, but my boobs are a bit out. I think that's what, don't quote me on that. I think that's what Mia Khalifa does. And then you've got like famously Bad Baby, who was the Cash Me Outside girl from the Dr. Phil show.
Mm-hmm.
And then she like launched an OnlyFans and it made $1 million straight away. Then Iggy Azalea, our fellow country lady, she's been making bank. Again, these are the people who were huge in the music industry, but they can generate much more money now on OnlyFans than they could from trying to monetize their declining music career.
Yeah. I mean, imagine what I don't know what you would have to do in Mullumbimby, where she grew up, to earn the kind of money that she's got on OnlyFans.
I think she said the reason I started OnlyFans is because I wanted to be able to move back to Mullumbimby and still be making bank from my bedroom. So I just work remotely on OnlyFans from Mullumbimby, and it's the life for me. I wake up every morning.
See like wallabies going past in the background when she's doing the content.
That's a sexy angle. It's just Australian wildlife.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's sex work is one of these things, and men sort of wanting that titillation, and men wanting intimacy, and wanting, and sometimes in a lot of cases sort of feeling like they need to pay for it. That's just not ever going anywhere. It's been around since time began. I think even the dinosaurs had to pay for sex sometimes. So. Like a really socially inept Triceratops had to pay a few.
One with a malformed horn.
Pay a few dino bucks flat from the Flintstones for.
That's why they went extinct. Because they
became so socially awkward.
Yeah, exactly. They became so addicted to OnlyFans that they forgot to copulate in real life, and gradually the population declined. That's what's going to happen to us.
Is that great? It's that thing. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be necessary. You don't want to shame people, at least not the women. But I don't want anyone that I know or love to be involved in as either a user or a creator. That's so, how do we, if they happen to end up in that position, fine. But I just don't wish this for anybody. It doesn't seem great. I want everybody to find loving partners and have a really nice life where they're not having parasocial relationships or living in the BOP house. Girls don't live in the BOP house.
That's right. Just keep your feet in your shoes and your bums in your pants, and just stop it.
Beautiful, John. Do you want to take us out of this OnlyFans episode?
Sure. I would like to congratulate you for that wonderful deep dive into the morally, socially, culturally, economically complex world of OnlyFans. It's been fascinating. And as I noted, we came up with an ethical solution to the power imbalance between users and creators, which is just two creators paying in kind for each other's content with their own content. So that's the healthy alternative to OnlyFans. So guys, and I'm thinking mostly of the guys here, if you are thinking about going on OnlyFans instead, why don't you become the kind of content creator that an OnlyFans model would be willing to give her content for free to? That's my challenge to you. But if you disagree, if you think we're being prudish, that we're stuck in the past, then by all means, drop us a line, hello@dptm.org. And until we hear from you, we can't wait to see you next week.
at the podcast.